Don't buy things you can't afford with money you don't have to impress people you don't like. Stephan. Graham is not just an inspiration for me, but millions of individuals across the world who listen to his financial tips and advice week in and week out. Starting out as a real estate agent, Graham built his following from a lot of the advice that he was sharing when he became a millionaire at the age of 26. And through that knowledge and his down-to-earth communication style, he was able to garner so much success on YouTube and pursue this full-time, which is exactly what in this week's episode of MasterTalk, we'll be covering the man, the myth, the legend himself, Stephan, and how he communicates. So let's get into it. Number 1, be down to earth with your communication style. What I love the most about Graham is regardless of how much success he's accumulated in his life, he still keeps it simple on the YouTube channel. The way that he speaks, the languages that he uses, he speaks one language. Number 1, be down to earth with your communication style. What I've always appreciated about Graham is his ability to be as simple as possible when he shares ideas. Especially given the success that he has, he still takes the time to be empathetic to his audience. How do I make this concept and these ideas as simple as possible so that it reaches more and more people? In addition to that, regardless of the fact that he's a multi-millionaire, he's still sharing weird parts about his life that make us believe that he doesn't make any money at all. One of those examples is his famous 20-cent iced coffee, where he berates anyone who buys coffee outside and doesn't make it at home. And he goes, what are you talking about? I'm just gonna make my own iced coffee and it's 20 cents. Or the other example that shocked me personally, about how when he travels, he uses grocery bags. Like the guy doesn't even have a backpack to put his clothes in. It's crazy given his net worth. But I also think there's a lesson there, which is relatability and connection. How far are you willing to go for your audience? And what I love about Graham is regardless of how successful he is relative to other finance-related YouTube channels that talk about the rich life and the fancy cars and the expensive things, this guy with the focus on iced coffee, that's very cheap, I might add, is able to relate, to stay connected with this audience. And there's so much that we can learn there as well about how we can take a step back and say, are the people who are listening to my idea actually understanding what I'm saying? And what can I do to make myself as accessible as possible for the people who take time out of their busy days to listen to our ideas? Now that is the key to getting attention, and Graham is the master at it. Number 2, trust is built over time, not overnight. What's amazing about Graham and his brand is he's made decisions that have literally lost him money in the short term so that he can keep the trust of his audience long term. Given that he's a finance-related YouTube channel, I'm sure he gets emails all the time about cryptocurrencies and different platforms who are willing to offer millions, thousands of dollars to say, hey, Graham, can you make a post about this? What I've always appreciated about Graham is his high level of integrity. He always says, well, if I don't use the product, why should I let anyone else use it too? And that trust is so important, especially from a communication perspective. And the reason for that is very simple. Because if you have the trust of someone, which is the most important currency, not their money, but their trust, it doesn't matter what you actually end up doing in life, people will follow you because they trust your character and who you are. And much like how trust is very difficult to build over time, it's just as easy to break. And what trust also does is it gives you the benefit of the doubt. If you start to speak messages that aren't necessarily the same topic you used to speak about, or you start delivering speeches or new mediums or new ideas, the people around you will still be extremely supportive and forgiving if you make any mistakes. That's why when someone like Elon Musk is communicating an idea, even if he's not that great of a communicator, people still sit in awe of who he is and the brand that he's built over his life. And that's what I want us to start thinking about as well. Trust is like a jar where you constantly deposit or withdraw from it. And what you want to start thinking about is how do you keep depositing quarters, dollars into that jar so that that trust over time builds up so people fall in love with you before you even step on a stage. And finally, number 3, the most important one, is don't take yourself too seriously. Graham is such a great example of what we call in the creator space edutainment. He's the perfect blend between education and entertainment. Even if a lot of the content he shares is technical, it's around finance, it's about index funds, he still has fun along the way. One example of this is his girlfriend Savannah, and many shows and episodes he does with her, he calls her Graham's girlfriend instead of Savannah, which is hilarious. And he makes fun of a bunch of other people's spending habits on a show that he calls The Iced Coffee Hour, which is fascinating indeed. And the point I want to drive here is if you're too serious and not entertaining, you're boring. And if you're too entertaining and you don't have enough substance, you're not helping people. And what Graham has done so well is he's blended it, I guess similar to the coffee beans he blends in the morning since he makes his own coffee. It's very similar to the ideas that he shares, where it's a perfect mix of entertainment and education. So figure out, where are you on that scale? Am I too entertaining? Am I too educational? And try and learn from the other side until you develop that right mix where you're going to be accessible to a lot more people, and a lot more people will pay attention to what you have to say as well. Don't buy things you can't afford with money you don't have to impress people you don't even like. What I always appreciate about Graham's quote is the following: living life by your own terms, and exactly your own terms. He's the best example of that, where he makes decisions that make him happy. And we want that for all of you. Focus on making the right decisions, communicating the ideas you truly care about, whether it's about public speaking, whether it's about dancing, or maybe even making 20-cent iced lattes, and figure out what is the best way of sharing those ideas regardless of what other people think about them. And I think if you do that, you'll have learned exactly how to present like Graham Stephan. As always, if you enjoyed this week's episode of MasterTalk, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well to see more videos like this. And if you know one person who's a fan of his work, be sure to send him this YouTube video so that they'll be one step closer to mastering their talk. Take care, everyone.